politics. Nyachae officially joined politics in 1992 and served as member for parliament for Nyachae for 15 years. He had the opportunity to serve as a minister in the ministries of agriculture, water, roads, energy, and finance. In 1998, he was appointed Minister for Finance and served for 14 months. He endeavored to revive the struggling economy. However, following a cabinet reshuffle and the reassignment to a new ministry, Nyachae chose to resign and focus on his role as Member of Parliament. In the year 2002, he contested the presidency on a Ford People ticket and came third after Mwai Kibaki and Uhuru Kenyatta. At the time, he told Grace, "I know that I won't win this presidency, but nevertheless, I'll proceed to offer my candidature out of principle." His party won 16 seats in parliament, which included all the seats in Gusii, and in 2004, President Mwai Kibaki invited him to join a government of national unity. He first served as Minister for Energy and later as Minister for Roads and Public Works. In 2007, he retired from politics in order to spend more time with his family and business ventures. Throughout his career,
they are friends because they know what you're capable of doing. But I've seen his friends. I've seen Mzee Madenge, how many years they've been friends? Kina Msila. He taught me that I need to choose my friends wisely. Even my friends who are there, they know how I deal. The third and last is your level of integrity should be up there. May his soul rest in peace. Thank you.
Thank you very much. At this moment, we're going to have the great-grandchildren. The great-grandchildren, you've seen the grandchildren. Please, Angela, come with me. Come around over here. And we seek that we have adjustments for mics for them, please. And before they speak, I'm going to request, we have relatives. You know, this is a large family. And we're going to seek kindly all the guests. We seek for your indulgence. Mzee had and has a big family. So it will take time, but we'll get there. So the relatives of the family of Mzee Nyachae, can we be upstanding, even those who are at the balcony? Yeah? The relatives, please, let's be upstanding wherever you are. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. We have the in-laws who are all here and the close family friends. We might not have an opportunity for you to speak. That will be done at home, but we really, really recognize you. Then we also have the friends of Mzee Nyachae and family friends. Please, wherever you are, kindly let us reverently stand up. The friends. Yes. Oh, amazing. Just keep standing, please. Keep standing. And we will have Engineer Wambora and Mzee Niza Juma and Moses Mwendwa to speak on all of your behalfs. Waziri nawaona nyote, Mheshimiwa Msali and all of you. Yeah, and just in case I don't mention your name, I see you, Senator Ongeri and Waziri here, and also Waziri. I hope we are observing the health protocols, Waziri Kagwe. Yeah, and I can see you stood, so you can even turn around just to ensure that we are observing. Yeah, indeed we are compliant. And to all of you, even right at the back, I can see Sagero and the rest, please, we recognize you all very, very kindly. Mzee Mainda, nyote tumewaona na familia inajua mko hapa, hata wale mko balcony and even those in the tents. So right now, my little nieces, are you ready? So who's starting? Ashley. Okay. Ashley.
We are so blessed to have seen our great-grandpa. He always told us to calm him than not so cruel like our parents. He made us a funny roaring sound to bark, and he laughed as we got so scared. He always gifted us when we visited him, and especially if you give him a hug. I remember I got my first violin like that. Tata, we think your birthday was even more fun in heaven with all the celebrations. Go well, Tata, we will miss you.
Thank you very, very much. You're awesome, very awesome grandchildren. They are great, by the way. Yeah. And before I bring in the friends, allow me to bring, in Kisii traditions, it's not possible for me to call my grandmother by her name, but just because it's a function. Grandma Grace, please come and speak to us and tell us a little about your loving husband. It's been wonderful. I've seen you all the days, even during at hospital with him, and may God bless you for the nice work that you've done. And also not forgetting Mongena Baba, Marita, na Ngochoro Kwane. So please, we can take care of this mic.
I hope it is still morning. Good morning. My husband, my dear friend, Simeon Nyachae. The pain of losing a husband and a dear friend is like no other. We have traveled together through our life's journey. Simeon was always completely true to himself, and from when we met, he was clear who he was. Extremely honest, loving, hardworking, and above all, someone who believed and honored God. Our morning and night prayers were always on top of his day's program. I must say here that during these very difficult times, The way I knew that Mzee was better is when we prayed in the morning and he said amen, and then I knew that he is better. Simeon took it upon himself to train me in many aspects of life. He encouraged me to be bold and stand for what was right, regardless of what others said. Whatever decisions he made, he would have thoroughly thought them through and could therefore defend them anywhere and any time. When he instructed me to resign from my employment, it was not a request, and he set up Sansora Group Limited head office in 1984. I was fearful, but he reassured me that he knew what he was doing and how right he was. My deepest joy in my marriage to Simeon was his deep love and care for his children. Despite his very busy schedule, balancing his business and public service, I'm grateful that at home he would ensure that he made time for us. He set clear boundaries and often emphasized to the children that if they listened and followed his guidance, they will be the ultimate beneficiaries. It is a true blessing to witness the close bond he continued to have with his children until he rested. God bless him with life to witness and celebrate their successes. Simeon dearly loved our parents. And I keep on telling our children, I believe because he loved our parents and he honored them, God blessed him, because the fifth commandment is the only one with a promise. You honor your parents and your days will be increased. I saw it with your father. Engaging me as his assistant in the Nyachae politics was like it was like being thrown in the deep end of a swimming pool. I never stood in public before. I had nightmares. But when the community embraced me, I enjoyed being part of them. When he officially left politics in 2007, I found myself still deeply attached to the community, to the constituency, and up to the time he rested, I was actually his main source of political news. I had, of course, to assess his mood. Mzee showed me the world figuratively and literally, and for 50 years, he was my friend and my companion. As a member of the World Scout Foundation, we visited several countries in the world. We knew each other so well that we knew what the answer would be for each other's questions, even without having to say a word. He took the love and time over the years to invest in me. And so, when the time came for me to truly follow the vows, for better or worse, in sickness and in health, I had no hesitation to do everything possible to look after Mzee. I'm very grateful to God that he kept me well and strong to do this till the very end. Simeon's generosity across board has no comparison. He reminded me again and again that whatever he owned was blessings from God. He therefore always felt the need to share with others as his way of thanking God. I knew that he was involved in many churches, projects, but during the last almost 2 weeks, what I have heard, I did not know that he was so involved in all those projects, churches, hospitals, schools, name it. I didn't know about it. And this just confirmed what he always told me about the need to share the blessings God had given him. Knowing that Simeon sincerely loved me kept me going as I nursed him through his prolonged illness. I could have done anything in this world for more time with my beloved husband. But as he always told me to trust in God's plan for us, I know that this too is part of that plan. Please allow me to just say this. I know there is someone who will be acknowledging our personal vote of thanks, but I want us to say that during our time in 2018, when he was in the ICU in the hospital in Cromwell, and His Excellency the President Uhuru Kenyatta visited him in the ICU, we were amazed. When we saw him, it was like some kind of medicine to see him from home. And I must say that the improvement was drastic. I just want to take that moment, I know somebody else will do it, to really appreciate that visit, because it made such a difference. A couple of months later, his mother came and again visited Mzee. This time he was not in the ICU, but I could see the joy, even having to share old stories. We do appreciate. I know there are very many other people who came there and here. And I just felt that from where I stood, I needed to acknowledge that first family to have come all the way there and the difference it made in his recovery. Our faith that the day will come when we will be reunited. But until then, I shall miss and love you always, and we will celebrate you and all you have taught me and our children. May God bless you, our soul, in eternal peace, love, grace.
This moment, after getting to hear those wonderful words from Mama Grace, I really want to thank you, Mama, and we'll continue to pray for you and put you in the Lord for comforting. And now let's get to hear from Magokoro, Mama Marita. That is Charles' mom, and mom to also Ken there. Ken, your hair is already whiter than your mom's. It's amazing. Yeah, she's still.
Ni rangi nimepaka.
Ni rangi nimepaka ya white. Okay. Thank you very much as you adjust. Maukoro kwana.
Amjambo washabiri wa mbinguni nyote. Amjambo. Mimi nawashukuru kuja kusherehekea hii mzee wetu, vile mwenzangu alisema. Najua kila mtu anapenda mzee wake, lakini wengine hata wakigombanishwa ama kupiwa hawezi kusema kama ameenda, hata alikuwa ananipiga. Mzee alikuwa anatupenda, hata watoto wetu. Mtoto hawezi kusema ati baba yake alimpiga. Labda mimi nilikuwa nawapiga, si ndivyo?
Wacha tu.
Kwa hivyo siku yake ilifika. Tunaomba Mungu atusike, tukimuomba kwa yale mazuri atatusaidia. Asante sana kwa nyinyi kusherehekea hii harusi ya mzee wetu.
Thank you. She also has a tribute on the program summarized in English, if you want to turn to it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Maukorumbi amono, and thank you very much. Ule ningeomba ungetandika zaidi, ungechapa Ken, anatusumbua hapa nje sana. Lakini hata sasa ulifanya kazi mzuri, because he's a good man, na huwa anatunulia chai. Wachenchi, God bless you. Thank you very much. I now wish to, we are just crossing over so that, and I really love the patience that I'm seeing today, right from Right Honorable Amolo Raila. You are patient, and I am feeling it. I wish how we would move this faster so that we can also get to hear from also the cabinet secretaries and the rest. So for now, Engineer Wambora and Mzee Neza Juma and Moses Mwendwa, just come, the three of you. Yes, just come up front, the three of you, in the way I've called you, so that we can recognize you and have you just say a word very quickly. Just come up front next to me. You'll get a mic here. We'll take care of you. Don't worry. We'll make sure we take care of you. Thank you. Pole pole. And deacons on standby. Okay. Thank you very much. You get your mic over there. And thereafter, I will request that we have Mike Gitone standby so that we can have you take over the rest of the program so that we can get into the divine service, and very quickly we should be leaving subsequently. So please let us now have Mzee Engineer Wambora, tafadhali uwe wa kwanza, and the three of you, just each one of you on one mic. Yeah, each one of you will start in the order that you are standing. Please, Engineer, karibu sana.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is the first function where I managed to stand in front of so many people after a period of close to 3 years, because I've been sickly too. Mzee Nyachae was a good colleague of mine, a mentor, and a man whom one would have loved to associate with. I joined the ministry of the government in 1968, and I found Nyachae was already in the provincial administration, doing pretty well. I was a young engineer, rose through the ranks in the ministry to chief engineer roads, and then permanent secretary for about 13 years. In the Ministry of Transport and Communications and Agriculture. It is at the Ministry of Agriculture where the two of us, that's Honorable Mzee Nyachae and myself, work together. And I can assure you that here is a man whom one would love to say he is associating with. Very highly principled, and somebody who is result-oriented, meaning if he was doing anything, he would set a target and would ensure that he has a way of monitoring whatever was going on. Not just saying the project is ongoing, he wants to see results, and results within a specified period. One project that put us together was the rural development, which is now translated into devolution that we hear about. I can assure you that the 7 districts which were set aside for that experiment, much was done, and Simeon Nyachae was the brain behind the whole of that. Now, many people got employment, children were able to learn that whatever they were seeing at the grassroots level was their own, because they selected, because they constructed if they were roads, because they maintained, and they preserved those facilities because they are for their own good. I would like to say that we are missing Nyachae. We will continue missing him greatly. And before I finish, I would point at that lady there, being my wife. She is Mary Akelo, a nurse by profession. And to all of you, I say you miss somebody whom one would wish to continue associating with. May God bless his soul in eternal peace.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am proud to be able to say that Simeon was my friend. Long time ago, we became friends. So although, of course, I knew Charles and Kennedy, but I also knew Maina and Yandusi when they were this high. And I've seen them grow up. He was a man of integrity. I have seen, when I traveled into Nairobi airport with Simeon, and Grace was with us, I have seen him tell the customs people to go through the baggage of Grace because she's brought a lot of things in there. That's the kind of man he was. I have learned a great deal from him over the years, and there are very few that has his kind of principles. And he was always proud to say to Grace in front of all of us that I have ruled over you Kikuyus for 10 years. And he really enjoyed saying that. And so he was a very lovable man, very easy to be friends with. And we will miss him. And just for him to be around was something that we all felt good about. So go well, my friend. Be well wherever you are. I'm sure you will do deals with God as well, and you will have a very high place wherever you are. It has been nice knowing you. Thank you.
Good morning. It's good afternoon, all of us. My name is Moses Mwendwa, and maybe I should start by saying I was taken by surprise because I didn't know my father there was also a provincial accountant. But my relationship with him came much later, when he knew I was the son of Joseph, and he didn't know I was in Nairobi. And we became very close because he involved me in a lot of his work. He was a mentor to me. He taught me a lot of things. I met a lot of people through him, and these people became my friends. So for me, what I can say, and like he always said, I was a son of Honorable Nyachae, because every time we sat down to discuss, maybe in a board meeting or somewhere, he would tell those sitting with us that this man, I worked with his father, so he is my son. And I accepted, because he said, I am an adopted son of the Nyachaes. I'm happy to say here one thing that I've seen. The grandchildren and the children of Nyachae have said one thing, that they will stick to his motto: respect, integrity, and love for one another. They have said that they would not let Mzee down. We've seen many families, after the head of family has departed, mess the family, the businesses, and the rest. I can tell you one thing that I know. Mzee was very organized. I would sit with him for hours in his office discussing various things. And I can tell you, Mzee was organized, and he loved his family deeply. He loved the whole family, and all the children were loved, and he had special love for each child. And the mothers here, those who are gone, because I knew them, I met them, and those who are here, Mama Charles, mother, and Mama Grace. He would tell me about the care Mama Grace took to ensure that he got well. And sometimes I would be very touched, knowing that he would tell me, look, many people don't know the importance of a wife. Being careful, he would say, look, you do not know that a man who is not married misses a lot. When you get old or you are sick, you need a wife to take care of you. And he said he has reason to thank God because he has the wives who took care of him. He has Grace who took care of him. He was like a child to Grace because she would do everything for him. He was proud of the achievement of his children. Like Charles here, like all the others, all of them. He was proud, and he will remind me that the first thing he liked and he admired was the performance of his children. And he kept the certificates. You'll be surprised. He kept the certificates and he would not give them until later. Maybe even if you are given an item, he will keep that certificate. Tell you that is yours, but it's not yours until I'm gone. So please, my advice is respect and honor your father's advice. Stick together, love one another, be firm, grow that organization. The businesses that Mzee had, grow them. Don't mess. Stay together, stick together, love one another, and Mzee, wherever he is, he will be blessing you. That's the only thing I can tell you. Me, he was a father, and he helped me in many things, in many ways. Advice and my other personal problems. So for me, he was a father and a great friend. So that's all I can say. Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much, Mzee Moses Mwendwa. And I think to the family, the blessing has been pronounced by Mzee's friends. Lee, Mike, Tokina Nyandusi, Sam and the rest, Noah, to the grandchildren, the tone has been set. And I think the blessings that you will get even from the prayers, for sure you shall leave the legacy of Mzee. I now wish to bring Mike Gitone from the presidency to take us on the other bit, and subsequently we shall then go to the reading from Psalms 121 that shall be done by Noah, and have a hymn by the mother's voice, and we shall be culminating by the sermon by Pastor Irere. Thank you very much for listening to me. I know I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Jeff Omambia, a serving elder in this church. Welcome, Mike, and carry on.
I take cognizance and pass my apologies and condolence to the family, distinguished leaders, the clergy and the family, members of the Fourth Estate who are present. We all gathered here to demonstrate the love, the respect that we had for our hero, and give comfort to the family, friends, and all of us who have met together here as we mourn, and also give thanks to God for the opportunity He gave us to have our father, Honorable Simon Nyachae. Words cannot completely express our views and feelings about this great leader, but one thing I know and I believe firmly is that he has fought a good fight, he has kept his faith, and now he has rested in peace. It's all upon us now to pray for the family that they emulate what I wish now humbly to invite the chairman of the Council of Governors, Honorable Governor Wambora, on behalf of the Council to come and pay his tribute and acknowledge the other governors who were present. Karibu, Chairman.
Good afternoon. The Right Honorable Prime Minister Raila, the family of Honorable Simeon Nyachae, the Honorable Fellow Excellency Governors, Cabinet Secretaries, members of the senators with us here, members of Parliament, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Council of Governors, I wish to first and foremost convey my heartfelt condolences to the family of Honorable Simeon Nyachae and the Bagusi community, as well as the people of Kenya at large, for the loss of a great Kenyan patriot. Even as we mourn the loss of the late Mzee Nyachae, let us celebrate him for his distinguished public service, which contributed to Kenya's economic growth. I have personal vivid memories of Honorable Simeon Nyachae as a very committed and towering provincial commissioner whom I used to admire while I was a young provincial administrator. I knew him as a very competent and tough public administrator. However, even as tough as he was, he had a lot of compassion and also patience with the young officers in the service. I only remember one occasion when we had a meeting on district focus for rural development, and he was the chair, and we were young DOs and DCs. And the others urged me to ask him a question, why those of us whom he had sponsored to America and the US, about 50 of us, when we came back with masters and postgraduate diplomas, why we could not be promoted. He just laughed at me and told me, young man, it's not the degree which can make you be promoted, but I hope your degree will make you efficient and work well so that you get promoted. As a result of excellent performance as a PC, Honorable Simeon Nyachae was promoted in quick succession to higher positions of permanent secretary in charge of district focus for rural development, and thereafter he was soon promoted to the then most powerful position in the civil service, the post of chief secretary. After Honorable Simon Nyachae retired from the civil service, he became a member of parliament for Nyachae constituency. He later served as cabinet minister in various ministries. The legacy of Honorable Simeon Nyachae will be remembered for many years for his contribution in the various sectors such as the public service, district focus for rural development, and also in the various ministries, agriculture, community affairs, water, roads, energy, and finance. As I conclude, Mzee's rich legacy will remain embedded in the history of Kenyan nation for his distinguished contribution to the country's economic growth. His legacy will also be projected by those he mentored, and some of those he mentored are with us here, such as Waziri Dr. Fred Matiang'i and many others. They will progress his legacy, including his dear son Charles Nyachae and many others. May the Lord God comfort the family of Honorable Simeon Nyachae, and may the Lord God also rest his soul in eternal peace. Asanteni. Thank you. May I now take this opportunity to introduce the governors who are with us so that they can wave to the congregation, starting with Governor James Ongwae, who is actually the late Nyachae's governor. Asante sana, Governor. Then we have Nyandarua Governor, Honorable Kimemia, who is also the chairman of the Central Region Economic Bloc. Is there any other governor around? Okay. Then of course we have the deputy governor Kisi, Joas Maangi. Kuna wengine? That's it? Asanteni sana. May God bless you. Asante.
Thank you so much, COG Chair, Governor Wambora. It's also important to mention that he's sitting next to his deputy, Governor James Ongwae, who is a good friend of mine. I'm being requested by Jeff that KBY 111T, you requested kindly to move very fast to your car. There is a patient whom you've blocked. KBY 111T. I most humbly now wish to invite the Cabinet Secretary for Interior and National Coordination, Dr. Fred Matiang'i, kindly to take us forward the next program. Karibu Waziri.
In honor and to respect the church traditions, I would like to request that we conduct this segment of the speeches in the most precise manner. And therefore, before I say anything, I'm going to ask two national leaders to say something. And then after that, I will make some remarks and invite the Cabinet Secretary for Health, the Honorable Senator Mutahi Kagwe, who is representing His Excellency the President, to deliver the President's message. And to start us off, I would like to invite the Honorable Musalia Mudavadi to make a 2-minute remark. Then I will invite the Honorable former Prime Minister, Honorable Raila Odinga, before we basically complete this segment. Oh, sorry, yes. I've seen the former Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka is here. I'll also invite you. Sorry, I had not seen you.
Mama Martha Nyachae, Mama Grace Nyachae, the entire Nyachae family, Charles Nyachae, members of the congregation, bear with me, because now that the masks are part of our life, I'll avoid trying to name people individually. But I'll sum it up as friends of Nyachae. Let me take the first opportunity to pay my deepest condolences on my own behalf and indeed on behalf of my wife Tessie, who is with me here today. She is like a younger sister to Mama Grace Nyachae. Let me execute my 2 minutes as follows. I served in the same cabinet with Mzee Nyachae. As young as I was then, he was like the elder brother in that cabinet. I was a Minister for Finance. He was a Minister for Agriculture. I served my 5 years as Minister for Finance, and he did his term as Minister for Agriculture. After the 1997 elections, we switched positions. I became the Minister for Agriculture, and he became the Minister for Finance. A very thorough individual, very professional in approach, very candid, fearless. He always humored up cabinet sessions. But perhaps when one looks at Nyachae, you also see somebody who stood for merit. He didn't believe in shortcuts. The integrity of the public service was perhaps at its highest during the tenure of Simeon Nyachae. As the Chief Secretary, I can tell you, I saw moments that were both hilarious but very strange. When Simeon Nyachae was Chief Secretary, ministers used to address him as Sir. Can you imagine? Ministers would actually call him Sir, because he carried a lot of dignity in that office. There was even talk that sometimes if Simeon Nyachae called a PS or called a provincial commissioner somewhere when he was the Chief Secretary, it is rumored that the PS or even the Chief Secretary would actually stand up to talk on the phone when even Simeon Nyachae was not in that room. Just in case he's watching over you. This was him. And as I conclude, I just say that also as a politician, I had my encounter with him. I attended his cultural events at Nyanturago Stadium, just to attest to the fact that those who say he loved culture, he did. He was a good man. He stood with his family. He stood with his friends. He was also compassionate. He spent time also visiting my father in moments of sickness on his own. He suffered his pain gracefully. He saw the dark side of politics as well. And during that moment, they became friends with the late Moses Mudavadi. It is strange that February 1st is when he was taken by the Lord. He was born on February 6th. His other friend, Mzee Moi, was also taken in February. Moses Mudavadi was also taken in February. Let's hope February does not take anybody else. But may his soul rest in eternal peace. May his family continue to live in God's name and to have his favor and to have his spirit moving with you now and forevermore. Mzee Nyachae, rest in eternal peace. You are a great son of Kenya. Thank you.
I humbly invite His Excellency Kalonzo Musyoka, former Vice President. I am keen to keep the demands of my pastor. Let us be brief, precise.
Bwana Yesu asifiwe. Mama Martha, Mama Grace, the Nyachae family, fellow mourners, Fred, you were not wrong. I came late, so I quietly sat down. And in fact, I would have been very comfortable not to speak. Because as I said, when we first paid a call on Mama Grace after the demise of Mzee Nyachae, it's very difficult to talk about Mzee Nyachae in 2 minutes. Suffice it to say that he was a towering personality. Not towering physically, but towering even intellectually. I did mention then that Mzee Nyachae saw me as an assistant minister in his capacity as chief secretary. I drove myself to State House in a pickup, and I was not allowed to drive in. And so here I am, a young fellow from the village Suko in Sekuru, and I see this tall man, President Mzee Moi, and his chief secretary. So it was Nyachae who saw me in. And at the end of that ceremony, he actually offered to drive me to town. Now that was the aspect that has been mentioned, tremendous human being. But I think it is Governor Wambora who literally captured who Nyachae was. A very strong personality, a go-getter. Had no time for anything that he didn't consider professional. And yet, in later days when we were, as Mudavadi has said, all both of us, three of us and many of us were in cabinet, as a young minister for foreign affairs and him agriculture and Mudavadi in finance, we would take time to listen to Mzee Nyachae in cabinet. It was so clear that although he was Minister for Agriculture, he had that all-round experience which the chairman of a cabinet, President Moi, would always defer to Mzee Nyachae. So his contribution was always hilarious, very deep, very well researched. And then of course he joins politics, and I remember him actually covering for me in Nyaturago. He even said that he knew I was a family man. I needed that support at that time. And Mama Grace remembers that. And when there were difficult issues, he was also able to listen. And no wonder that our elder brother here, David Musila, I saw that from the screen. I was reading the eulogy. David Musila would take me to Nyachae at night, and Mama Grace, sometimes in the afternoon, and then she'll make the famous banana cake, which I still miss. Wonderful family and wonderful human being. So in Simon Nyachae, in losing Simon Nyachae, we have lost an elder whom we would all have been deferring to at this particular time. I want to, on my own behalf, on behalf of my own family, Pauline would have been here with me, but Grace knows that we truly value the friendship with the Nyachae family. May the good Lord rest his soul in everlasting peace. Amen.
Let me take this opportunity now to invite former Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, to make his brief remarks. Welcome there.
Mama Martha, Mama Grace, the Nyachae family, fellow mourners, God is good all the times. We have come to pay tribute to a great Kenyan. And I'm standing here on behalf of the family of Jaramogi Oginga Odinga. Our families have got history. The late Chief, Paramount Chief Musa Nyandusi, was a friend of our father. And as Simon would say, he took his elder son, Ayako, after whom child is named, to Jaramogi when Jaramogi was a teacher at Maseno High School. and told him, huyo mtoto nimeletea wewe. Jaramogi took Ayako and paid his school fees, and Ayako used to live in our house in Maseno. The first time I came and met Mzee Nyandusi was a small boy in 1954, when I was told by my father that tomorrow in the morning we are going to Kisii. And I did not sleep. Early in the morning at 3 a.m. we took off. Those old, they were called box bodies. The journey will take 3 hours. Arriving in Kisii town at 6 a.m. And Kisii was very cold. So we went to a friend in Kisii hospital, the late Mito Jura, who received us, gave us hot tea. After which, we then drove to Mzee Nyandusi's home. And we found Mzee there who welcomed us. And as we were taken aside, as they were talking now with Jaramogi and the late Mito Jura. That was my first encounter at that time. And that story Nyachae would tell me several times we met. The story of how they would come together. So when Jaramogi became the Minister for Home Affairs, when he was in charge of Africanization and provincial administration was under him, that's when he promoted Nyachae to become the district commissioner at the time. There's another friend we shared with Simon, the late Job Omino. And we would sometimes sit. Grace knows the corner where we used to sit and discuss very many issues, history. Job and Simon had attended the same course at Cambridge University, those days when they were being trained to become civil servants. We were great friends. Then another friend we share is Mzee Madenge there, who was also a fellow permanent secretary, a great friend of Simon's. Madenge there was very much committed to freedom from hunger walks. And he drafted Simon into it, and Mudavadi. We'd walk together, freedom from hunger. I remember one time, as we were approaching Oyaki Way, I started getting cramps. And Zimadenge and Simon came to my aid to help me to stretch up so that I could finish the walk. I was actually very surprised that older people were able to make it and I was actually going to fail. So we were friends. A lot has been said already about Simon. But there's that human part of him, a very compassionate person. But he also lacked efficiency, trained in the colonial culture of efficiency. So he helped so many Kenyans to acquire education. When you go to the United States, you'll find villages filled with Kenyans who were actually beneficiaries of Simon's generosity. You go to New Jersey, you go to Texas, you go to Minnesota, where my friend, the deputy governor, was. Very many Kenyans there. Many sent to India, to China, all over the world. So he's made a tremendous contribution to our country. when we became a minister, I was a member of parliament, and we were, of course, opposition, and he was in the government. But we worked very closely together with Simon as a minister for agriculture, later minister for finance at that time. Later on, when he had resigned from the government and was in opposition, we again worked together. When we started the Rainbow Coalition together, he came with 4 people, and we were ourselves, we had come from, broken away from Kanu, and we formed the Rainbow Coalition together because they had negotiated with the late Jobo Mino. However, when we now teamed up with NAK to form NAC, we had an issue. When I said Kibaki Tosha, that did not go down with Simon. And with all the times he kept on reminding me how I betrayed him. But we remained friends generally right through. So we are actually saying goodbye to a great Kenyan patriot, a man who has done a lot in the service of this country. And we want just to say, may the Lord rest Simon's soul in eternal peace. Thank you.
Our friends and family of Mzee Nyachae, there are so many public servants in this audience who we would have loved to listen to. The Honorable Martha Karua, thank you so much for joining us. We are joined here by virtually all elected leaders from Kisii and Nyamira, led by our senator from Kisii, Mzee Professor Sam Ongeri, who is here. I know that by the grace of God, we are going to get an opportunity when we go home to speak one to another, and we have walked together this journey. I also would like to recognize the presence of our Chief Justice Emeritus, our elder brother, Justice David Maraga, who's there. If he could stand up and wave. Thank you. And Mheshimiwa Mayor Cage and the leaders of Nairobi who are here, who have worked with Mzee for a very long time, thank you so much. I would like to say this before I invite my colleague Mutai Kawe. Of course, before I invite CS Kawe, we have so many colleagues from the executive branch of government who are here, principal secretaries, the deputy head of public service, Mr. Wanyama Musiambu, who was deputized by the president to sit through the planning for this funeral service, a number of permanent secretaries in the audience, and my cabinet colleagues who are here, CS Maina, CS Omamo, CS Kawe, and all of you who are present. Up to his towering father, I actually never thought in my life, or never factored in my life, that such a day would come. Because for about 20 years, I've had the probably most unique privilege of working close and working with Mzee Simeon Nyachae. In everything except biology, I am Mzee Nyachae's son, because he raised me. I spent so much time with him, I traveled with him, and probably 2/3 of the impact he had in my life cannot actually be verbalized. And it's difficult to describe Mzee Nyachae in very few words. And I'm not alone. Actually, if we had time, let me be very sincere here. There are hundreds of people, those that were described by Prime Minister Raila Odinga here, hundreds of young people from all walks of life in this country, from Kisii, from all communities of this country, who would probably be nothing today had it not been for the personal intervention of Mzee Simeon Nyachae in their lives. I frankly do not think there is anyone I know who has educated the number of people that Mzee Nyachae educated. And I'm not shy to say this here in public. When you look at the education and the professional profile of the Kisii community, you have to address the Nyachae factor. The Nyachae factor is the resources that Mzee Nyachae mobilized and pumped into the education and professional development of our people. Incredibly generous and always available to support anyone who needed support. And I had this unique opportunity of having a front row seat in his life and seeing him in action. As I often say in public life, I am still using Mzee Nyachae's notes, even as I serve as cabinet minister. And I will cling on to those notes for a long time. In the last 8 years that I've been in cabinet, there has never been a time, until about a year ago when Mzee became sick and we couldn't speak very regularly, there wasn't a time, a stretch of time, that I did not either consult him, or he called me, or he actually never called, he summoned us to make demands on us on a number of things. And for my cabinet colleagues who are here, I took all the beating for your mistakes. And anytime you spoke out of turn, I am the one who was called and told how badly we are behaving, or how it was felt that we are not supporting the president enough. Because Mzee may have retired as a PC and as head of public service, but the head of public service in him did not leave. And the chief secretary in him never parted. Always in control and always in charge of things, and always very clear in his mind on what needs to be done. As I said, it will take a long time to comprehensively verbalize what Mzee Nyachae meant to very many people, including myself. As I conclude, I just want to ask, first of all, thank my mothers who are here and my brothers and sisters from the Nyachae family. I thank you on behalf of the hundreds of young people who passed through Mzee Nyachae's hands. Thank you for sharing your father with us. And thank you for complaint or displeasure or unhappiness in this family, even when Mzee sometimes spent hours with us, counseling these people or doing this. May the Lord bless you and continue to bless you for that. And lastly, I ask this. For all of us who are here, and the people that Mzee Nyachae had a strong impact in, the difficult part of our lives begins now, which is to leave his legacy. And I pray that those of us who have been and will be, as the Lord leads, be given an opportunity to either make a contribution in public service or work with others. May we never let him down. I was actually thinking the other day on Monday night that there is nothing Mzee did not do. He trained us on everything. He taught us everything. It's now upon us to leave that legacy and walk in his footsteps. And for our people who are here, wakusiba minto, umakakoyo ibintato tebeti about kobamo na kobeke kesakugeto amo, now is the time to think about those things. Komenyana maskani, wakaka badibaitu baliga baraibara, umaka ongeri na wakaka bande, umaka Nyachae okolire gasi aye ukolire. No umaka Nyachae throughout put all of us together. Wantongola mboli bale sometimes ya mangana yankola kwane vocabulary, even some of the Kisii vocabulary yaki I learned it kule so mwaka. Akoleto bokaya yuga, ozitakoleto bochoni, that I learned kule so mwaka Nyachae. Unobo oji, ino mwaka Nyachae nsometi vintebionsi. tati tobe abantu tokuerenda naenda abantu tokulendege saugito na tokulendege saugitegito monato sisemi. And once again, we can't thank this family enough for what you have collectively done to all of us by being generous, gracious, kind. You didn't have to do it, and by doing that, you supported your father to raise all of us and to ensure that we are making a contribution to our society. With those remarks, I would like to invite my brother and my colleague, our Cabinet Secretary for Health, the Honorable Mutahi Kawe, who will make some remarks and read a message of condolences from His Excellency, our President. Senator.
Thank you very much. Mama Lee, Mama Charles, the entire Nyachae family, fellow mourners. My job this afternoon, thank you very much, C.S. Matiang'i. My job this afternoon is a simple one because I am supposed to give the message of condolence from His Excellency the President. But before I do so, allow me to just say one or two things, because I too, like the Honorable Musalia Mudavadi and the Honorable Kalonzo, also served with Mzee Nyachae in the cabinet. But my service with Mzee Nyachae was perhaps slightly different, because I had this position where I knew Nyachae's children as my friends, because I knew Charles very well, Mary and the rest of them. And Ken Nyachae was my mono in high school. And by the way, he was also the 100 meters and 200 meters champion in Kagumo High School. No matter they say, ugali comes from the flour. So he was our champion, our 100 meters champion. Then when I joined the cabinet, I then was faced by these wazes led by Mzee Nyachae, who was born in exactly the same year as my father. So yes, we were cabinet secretaries, all of us. But as Musari rightly said, you know, in the animal farm, all animals are equal. But some animals were more equal than others. So in that cabinet, there used to be some animals that were a bit more equal than those of us who are much younger than them. But for me, what I remember most is that Mzee Nyachae had this characteristic, and when he passed away, I really thought about it. What was it? And it just dawned on me that that characteristic was one where he believed in lifting each other up, lifting people up, lifting colleagues up. In other words, there are two ways of creating equity. One of them is bringing somebody down, what they call in our slangs, pull him down, PhD. And a lot of Kenyans believe that the way to equate us is to bring others down so that we are all equal. But there are those Kenyans who know that the best way of creating equity is to bring those who are down up. And that's what I noticed most in Mzee Nyachae. He believed no matter how young we were, we should be pulled up, taught what is necessary so that we can serve the same way that they did. A man who symbolized discipline, patience also, but more important than anything else he symbolized patriotism. And that is something that we can copy even as he passes away. As is for his family, I also want to say that at this time, the nation is praying with you because he stood with us in our hours of need. And we stand with you. Mama Lee, we stand with you. Mama Charles, we stand with you. We pray with you. And we pray that the Lord God will rest Mzee somewhere comfortable in eternal peace. It is now my privilege and pleasure to read the message of His Excellency the President. It was with immense grief and a deep sense of personal sadness that I learned of the death of Honorable Mzee Simeon Nyachae. At this moment of great loss and sorrow, my family and I convey our deepest condolences and words of encouragement to the family, relatives, and friends of the late Mzee Nyachae. As we join you in mourning the passing of Mzee Nyachae, we also join you in celebrating his accomplishments. Honorable Mzee Nyachae was a great son of Kenya, whose immeasurable contributions to the nation spanned many decades and inspired millions of Kenyans. In the passing of the Honorable Nyachae, we are all deprived of his leadership, great passion, determination, and energy towards serving our country. Even in death, Mzee Nyachae undoubtedly stands tall amongst dedicated patriots of this country. His service to Kenya was characterized by utmost integrity, rare zeal, unbridled commitment to duty, and passionate candor that earned him accolades in 3 successive administrations. Mzee Nyachae was a remarkable leader who motivated all around him to be honorable, decisive, and accountable to the people they serve. Mzee served the people of Kenya with diligence and devotion in different capacities, including that of cabinet minister, chief secretary, legislator of consequence, and prominent businessman. Kenya is undoubtedly better for having Mzee Nyachae, and his legacy is fundamentally intertwined with the peace, prosperity, and democracy that all Kenyans enjoy today. At a personal level, I vividly recall my many interactions with the late Mzee Nyachae over the years. As an elder, mentor, counselor, and friend, Mzee Nyachae always had a word of wisdom, advice, and encouragement for me. His impact on my life shall never be lost, just as his vision for this country shall never be forgotten. Therefore, as we mourn the loss of this great son of Kenya, we pay tribute to his legacy, which I trust will be carried on for generations to come. Titans of history like the late Mzee Nyachae only die a physical death. For in their legacy, in the millions of lives that they have made better, they enjoy immortality of the soul. Mzee Nyachae will live on forever in our hearts, minds, and memories, and in the history of a nation that is eternally grateful for his exemplary service. As Christians, we take solace from the Word of God in Psalms 73, chapter 26, which says, "My flesh and my heart may fail, but God is the strength of my heart and my portion forever." End of quote. May the Almighty God rest the soul of Mzee Simeon Nyachae in eternal peace. Uhuru Kenyatta, CGH, President of the Republic of Kenya. Asanteni.
Thank you very, very much, Waziri Kagwe, na tunamshukuru Rais, ujumbe umefika, and we are honored to have all of you. Waziri Matiang'i, thank you for setting the pace, and it would have been wonderful to have many of you speak, but because we must also conduct this program in a timely fashion, we seek that now we go back to the church. And to kick us off is Kemunto Kingi, Daktari, and her group to come and do a song. And subsequently, we shall have a reading from Psalms 121 by the son of the late Nyachae, that's Nyachae, and hymn by the mother's voice as we now bring in Pastor to do the sermon. It's wonderful to have all of you here, and I'm also honored to have learnt a lot from Grandpa Nyachae. The business acumen that some of us have, those have been our mentors, with Mzee, also not forgetting people like Mzee Kangwana Jared, and of course now into the church, which we've been brought in through the family of Pastor Mambia and the Mochaches, and of course our wonderful church, Nairobi Central